Hey friends, today we're going to talk about two companies, OKLO and Rocket Lab. One doesn't have anything to do with the other, both just released earnings, and it might be interesting to see where we should put our money in one of these companies. Let's first begin with OKLO. So OKLO is a company that is poised to build SMRs, small modular reactors. So basically small nuclear reactors. Now, before I go into the earnings, I just want to say that the idea, the concept of an SMR to me is pretty stupid. Why? I live in a pretty densely populated country, Belgium, and where would you build those SMRs, I wonder? People already don't want windmills next to their houses, let alone a nuclear power plant. A nuclear power plant needs to be secured. If you now want to visit or go into a site of a nuclear power plant, there is a lot of security you have to go through. So putting these everywhere makes it very difficult to maintain a high level of security. So I don't see them in a populated area. Maybe in America there is more room and they can build SMR somewhere out in the wilderness. But for a densely populated area, I don't really see the advantages of SMRs. Also, SMR is just a concept at the moment. At the moment, there are no SMRs in working order. They have broken some ground and started building, I think, one SMR or something. So to me, it's very hypothetical thing that might be in the future something that we can work towards to. But right now, I would bet way more on solar energy or wind energy than on these SMRs. But that, of course, is my personal opinion. Now let's have a look at this company, which has been doing great. The stock has been doing awesome the last year, mainly because of the AI boom, because everybody now needs energy. So this company promises that in the future they will build small nuclear reactors, and in the future companies will have energy coming from OKLO. This is of course based on promises. They think that by 2030 they will have their first operating SMR. But as with big nuclear reactors, you see that the delivery date always gets delayed and it takes a long time. And I would have no doubt that in this new SMR technology, this will also get delayed. So 2030 to me seems very optimistic, and by then maybe the AI boom has faded or we're all dead because AI got rid of us. But now let's have a look at the earnings. So on the revenue side, they had a revenue of $0 because they didn't have an SMR yet. For the whole year they were expecting also to have $0 in revenue, which is logical. Their net loss was 33 million and they're expecting to have a net loss in the whole year of about 100 million. This isn't really a big problem since they have about 2.5 billion in cash at hand, so they can keep this going for a long time. People have been excited about the OKLO stock because in recent time they have announced some partnerships with Meta and with Nvidia. People of course go crazy about those plans and the stock goes up really fast, so it's a very volatile stock to be in. This time last year it was trading at about $30, and when you have a look at the all-time high in the last 25 weeks, that it went up to $193. So it really went sky high, then it dropped down again, and now it's on a little bit of a rise again. So now it's at, what is it today, $73. So it's really a very volatile stock, and it's based on not much at the moment. Currently it has a market cap of about 12.8 billion. You pay 12.8 billion for a company that probably will build some SMRs in the future. I do believe that maybe in the future they will execute and then they will turn a nice profit and the stock should be worth a lot more. That is very much possible, but right now we have the waiting time, like between now 2026 and 2030 before they make their first revenue. You could invest in other companies that make profit, that the stock will go higher. This stock probably will be very choppy until they get to their first revenue and get to their first profit. So investing in it right now doesn't really make sense unless you want to take some risk and think of the volatility and think, oh, it's low now, maybe there will be some hype around AI and energy around AI, which is very well possible, and it will triple, quadruple in 6 months like it has in the past. It's very well possible, but to me the stock doesn't really seem that interesting if you don't like that high risk. Also, there is no certainty. You can have high risk and have some certainty about the company doing great. This company is basically built on promises, which they really can deliver. I'm not saying they will not deliver, It might be a very interesting company in the future and might be a big company in the future. But right now, paying 12 billion for a company that's turning no revenue, making losses, that's just money you put there that will be sitting there doing nothing. I'd rather put it in another company that gives you a higher return in the next couple of years, even if it is by dividends or just by the stock performing. I think it is much more interesting to put your money there than in OKLO. But if you want to play some high risk reward type of game, if you want to gamble a bit, then you can always put some money in this company, but I wouldn't put too much in it. Now, the next company we're going to talk about is Rocket Lab. Now, Rocket Lab is really surfing on the hype of the SpaceX IPO that's probably coming this year. If you want to know how you can buy already now stocks of SpaceX, I made a video about this. I will try and not forget. I put a link to that video down below. But Rocket Lab really is surfing on that hype of that IPO. It's seen as a way of also investing in the SpaceX hype. So that's where also this company gets its very high valuation from. It currently has a market cap of $45 billion, which is very high considering it only had a revenue of 200 million this quarter. So if you just look at those numbers, you would say, oh, it's very much overpriced. Of course, they grew 63% year over year in this quarter, but still 200 million for a quarter isn't that much. They do have a backlog of 3.2 billion, so that's very nice. And they're expecting to have a revenue of about 1 billion for the whole year. They're not yet turning any profit, so this quarter they made a net loss of 45 million. And of course, there's a lot of hype around this company. So in the last year, their stock went ×5. That's awesome if you had invested a year ago into this company. Even just the last month, I think it went almost double. That shows you that there's a lot of hype around this company. And as we already said in the past in this YouTube channel, hype makes stocks grow. All those normal metrics where you normally look at, if the stock has a lot of hype, the stock will grow and will grow fast. And even though the valuation doesn't make any sense, this company has a market cap of $68 billion. You're paying $68 billion for a company with a revenue of $200 million this quarter, so like $1 billion in a year, and still making a loss. Those are crazy numbers. We've seen it with SpaceX. They allegedly are making a nice profit right now, but I think SpaceX is also very overvalued at the moment. But there is a lot of hype around it. Hype grows the stock. I do believe that Rocket Lab can again double in the next month, 2 months. It is very well possible. So if you want to gamble a bit, Rocket Lab really is something that you could invest in. In conclusion, both companies are a bit of a gamble stock to me, a bit of a hype stock, especially Rocket Lab. Investing in these companies feels more like gambling, but they might pay off. I'm very curious if any of you guys have invested in any of these companies, if you have invested into Rocket Lab, if you rode the wave and tripled and quadrupled your money. I'm very curious. Also with OKLO, maybe you made a good bet and sold at the right moment. I'm very curious to know. And what do you think in the future? Do you like these high risk, high reward plays, or are you more defensive? Let me know in the comments down below and see you in the next video. Bye.